This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we are live on our Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook channels with a really cool group that we actually wanted to get you on the show for a long time. Pop groove duo ROSAWAY. So welcome to the show.
Hi.
And what we're going to do is we're actually going to have to get some business out of the way. You see that we have a sponsor called Double Jack Online, and we're actually going to bring up something that people can do. They can just take their cell phone right now. And if you take your cell phone and go to the screen, you can actually scan this. And what they are a philanthropic online lottery where you can play Keno, you can play Powerball, and a percentage of the profit goes to charity. So if you take your cell phone now and you scan that, you can go check it out outside of this. We have a little link here. We'll keep it up for a couple more seconds. But yeah, just take your cell phone, scan that, and you can check it out. They are a supporter of the podcast, so do check them out. So we're going to get back to our normal phase, and we'll bring up the logo, with information for the band we're interviewing. So with ROSAWAY, we also would like you to, during the program, check out rosaway.com, and that's their website for all their stuff. But we want to get into what we like to do when we interview bands is actually show their video, and so you can actually hear them and know the context of what we're talking about. So if you don't mind, I'm actually going to play your video, and then we're going to go and do the interview right after. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're going to start that off. I'm going to put you on mute, and then I'll take you off mute. When you see yourselves back on the screen, the mic's hot again. I'm going to mute you now, and then when you see yourselves like 30 seconds before the end, it'll be back on. Okay. All right, so let's go.
Well, my friends have told me you're from the wrong side of the home, and don't you know you're just a midnight creeper, and you don't mean God. Roll me like you're on a rock ball. And don't you know you got me coming when I hear you call. Roll yourself around me, roll yourself around me. J'en ai marre de toi, je t'aime comme ça. Je ne devrais pas, je t'aime comme ça. Folle de toi, je t'aime comme ça. J'en ai marre de toi, je t'aime comme ça. Je ne devrais pas, je t'aime comme ça. Folle de toi, je t'aime comme ça. J'en ai marre de toi, je t'aime comme ça. Je ne devrais pas, je t'aime comme ça. Folle de toi, je t'aime comme ça. J'en ai marre de toi, je t'aime comme ça. Je ne devrais pas, je t'aime comme ça. Folle de toi, je t'aime comme ça. Je ne devrais pas.
Tocard, fêtard, flemmard, nulard. Binoclard, ringard, zonard et vantard. Après Léonard, Gaspard, il y a eu Balthazar. Toujours la même histoire. Tocard, fêtard, flemmard, nulard. Binoclard, ringard, zonard et vantard. Léonard, Gaspard et Balthazar. Tocard, fêtard, flemmard, nulard. Binoclard, fêtard, zonard. Toujours la même histoire.
J'en ai marre de toi, je t'aime comme ça. Je ne devrais pas, je t'aime comme ça. Folle de toi, je t'aime comme ça. J'en ai marre de toi, je t'aime comme ça. Je ne devrais pas, je t'aime comme ça. Folle de toi, je t'aime comme ça. J'en ai marre de toi. Je ne devrais pas. J'en ai marre de toi, je t'aime comme ça. Je ne devrais pas, je t'aime comme ça. Folle de toi, je t'aime comme ça. t'aime comme ça. Je ne devrais pas, mais je t'aime comme ça, honey. Oh, dis-moi, je t'aime comme ça.
So that was Midnight live, and we're back on with ROSAWAY. So you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
Cool.
can.
So I love that video because you got like everything I like. Like I love all types of music, but there's like new wave. There's like progressive rock. You get a little feel with the way your flute, like the way you play flute. It kind of reminds me of Jethro Tull. And then because the way you've structured the song, so it's got some progressive things where you change like the timing, and you have got some interludes, and you got the keyboards. It's funk. It's everything I like. It's like funk, new wave, progressive. It's really good.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad you like it.
Yeah, it's just like it's fantastic. But so I always like to start when I do an interview is like, and I don't know who wants to go first with this question. It's like, when did you first get into music? Like what age? And whoever wants to go first.
He wants to go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Well, I started when I was 2. Actually, I had my first drum kit. Actually, I was banging on the table on anything. So my grandparents bought me like a small drum kit, and then I got to a music school when I was 5. So that was actually when I really started learning music.
So you went to a fresh, like a, I don't know, like a typical music school. Like, was it more structured like classical, or is it anything? It was like,
First, no, it was like a modern drumming first,
oh, modern
and
drumming.
then
That's cool.
yeah, and then I went to classical music when I was a little older, like 14, from 14 to 18, and then I switched back to modern drumming because, of course, I had to choose at some point. You know, I
Yeah,
was,
'cause-
it was
yeah,
not
yeah.
possible to do everything. It was just too much work and too much to do. But I'm glad I learned a lot of classical stuff and keyboards. It was great experience for sure.
Right, for like music composition, it really helped you like
Definitely.
understand like music theory.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's for sure.
So Rachel, how did you get into it?
My parents were like 60s hippies, you know? So for them it was like, just normal to play
Choose
music.
music.
Like it was
Yeah.
really important for their sense of education. So they got me into music when I was 3 years old. It
Wow.
was classical music. So I studied at conservatoire for like forever. I just
Forever.
have the impression it's like forever. So yeah, I studied classical music. First the flute, then the singing.
Mm-hmm.
After that,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I did that, and when I was like 26, I was just wanted to do something else, just try something else. So I played with a hip hop band. Then I was how do you say that, backing vocals for pop stars, and then
Oh,
I said, okay, I just want my band.
oh,
So
your own
that's
thing.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So had your conservatory training been kind of gearing you to be like in an orchestra, or to do that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
it was actually the goal, but I never really asked myself if really
Wanted
wanted to do that,
that.
And at some point, I was like, man, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And, and I was 20, 26, 27 maybe. So yeah.
Did your parents get upset when you decided you didn't
No,
want to do that?
absolutely not. Actually, there's just EPs.
Right. They were like, okay, you go wherever you want. That's interesting because I've talked to like over 120 musicians on this podcast. And it's interesting story is like every time somebody tells me about being from a conservatory, they end up saying, yeah, I don't want to be in a classical band. They end up becoming pop stars. They end up becoming like, becoming like singer songwriters, and kind of rebelling because like, it gave them like the tool set. I think you get the tool set. And I started as I'm a clarinet player. I
Oh,
started on
okay.
clarinet, on winds and saxophone. But then I said, well, I can't write a song with that. I could. I mean, I could write a jazz song with that, but
Mm.
I was like, I don't want to just do all this jazz. I want to do something else. So I took the ideas that I learned from playing a wind and try to bring it into like modes, because
Hmm.
I kind of approach like my Moog from a wind player
Yeah.
perspective. But yeah, I think it's cool to have that tool set, but then you want the wider genre crossing, because I think sometimes classical doesn't want you to cross genres.
Hmm.
Did you find that like you weren't able to kind of do what you wanted because they want you to be in this framework?
Yeah, it was that for me, and I just had the impression that I didn't fit in this box.
Hmm.
So I tried really
You tried
hard
to
to
do
be
it, yeah.
in this box, but I guess it was not made for me. So yeah.
I love what you gravitate. So you started doing backup work, and you were in a band, a hip hop band. So what made you want to, I guess you've been trained as a musician the whole time, but I think classical, the one thing I've actually noted is that a lot of times because you can read, you can sight read, and you know theory. But I found I've actually interviewed classical musicians, and they were like, I really don't write my own music. I play like Bach and Beethoven and Chopin,
Hmm.
but I don't really write my own.
Hmm.
And was that something that you wanted to, and maybe the nature of classical is that you don't?
I'm not sure I wanted that. The thing is, I didn't want to play other music. So,
Yeah,
it's not like I wanted to play my music, but at some point I didn't want to play others' music. It's
yeah,
just kind of the
Hmm.
same, but it's not exactly the same. You see what I mean?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
the only solution was to write my own music, though.
Well, what made you feel like you had the voice and the content where you wanted to present something? Because every time I ask a singer or songwriter, I kind of get into like, okay, like I know you got into music, I know you did it early, but there's something that makes somebody want to be a singer songwriter versus somebody who maybe just does covers. Um, so what was that made you want to do that? You felt like you had something you wanted to do as an idea, a concept.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not sure I wanted to be the lead singer of this project of ROSAWAY, but
But she had no choice.
yeah, because we were just two,
Okay, he doesn't want to
and
sing. He doesn't want to sing. Stephane
Nope.
yeah.
doesn't.
And you don't want me to sing.
So yeah, it was just like, I just tried,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then, I just loved it.
And it kind of just made sense. I mean, we started the band. We didn't ask ourselves any question.
Yeah.
We were like, we're both musicians. We just want to do our music, play our music, and you play the flute, you sing. Just let's do it. There was
Did
no
you
Mhm.
question.
did you think initially that you weren't gonna have vocals, or were you always gonna have vocals?
We started actually first we wrote an instrumental song,
Yeah.
but then it was kind of just made sense to have
Yeah,
vocals,
but
right?
at the beginning,
She remembers better
we
than I do.
thought to the vocals like an instrument.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I wrote vocal lines like flute lines.
Oh,
So it
cool.
was more like, it's not really vocal, it could be anything else.
Yeah, you could
It
scat it.
was really at the beginning of the band. And then, after a few shows, after a year, I was like, yeah, I like singing actually. So maybe I should just understand more about my voice, about
How
my
to use it.
skills,
Mhm.
about my tone, and
Hmm.
maybe write something more, how can I say it? Which fits more with my tone.
Personality and
Yeah.
tone, yeah.
Well, I like the idea that you have this genre, which I haven't really seen a lot. I can understand it, but pop groove, because you have like a funk groove and it's pop, but it's like a kind of a progressive pop. Kind of reminds me, like I
Yeah.
said, of like Jethro Tull or Yes. But then you've got this funk that could be like any
Hmm.
of the great funk bands,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Parliament
and
Funkadelic
uh
and
and
stuff
and
like
actually, if you see us now on stage, we have a keyboard player and a
that.
guitar player, so it's even more funky than
Yeah.
that it was
Yeah,
on
like
the
an
on
Earth,
the on
Wind,
the
and
EP.
Fire, because you've got
Yeah,
like
yeah,
instead
and
of
they're
the horn
great. So
section, you have the you have a flautist, so
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that gives it kind of like a Jethro Tull feel. I keep on saying it because it's what most people know when they hear the flute. They're always
Hmm.
talking about, oh, it's Jethro Tull, but that's not the only thing in music. But just a reference point. But I think it's just it's really interesting when people find their voice, because the one thing I did notice, like if you become a singer songwriter, you have to end up at some point saying, "Well, I've got to sing my own songs," right?
Yeah.
Because like the only way to kind of really reach people is people want to hear songs that have vocals. And for many years as a keyboard player, I was just a keyboard player. I mean, like I'm
Hmm.
54, and all I ever did is be in bands and play keyboards, and I never sang, I never did anything. I just then eventually, in 2016, I said, well, I want to have a project, but I'm going to have to actually sing,
Yeah.
and I never did it. So it took a long time for me to figure out what I was going to do. But yeah, I think it's like that process when you finally decide, like, I want to do my own project, right? And you have to have a way to package it so people are going to understand what you're doing.
And that's actually how we got the sound of Rosaway for me, with the
Hmm.
singing, because she has a special tone, of course, like anybody,
Yeah,
and
it's
that
great.
that what makes Rosaway. So yeah, it just we had to do that.
Well, I like the fact that you're mixing language and then you're mixing genre, and
Yeah.
it's a really interesting mix because it's like it's got this. You got a really soulful voice, you got a very good pitch, and then you're a flautist, it just all comes together. And today, when so many things are electronic,
Hmm.
right? So many things are in the box.
Yeah.
Right. I am very much a big fan of a lot of the bands I interview are like independent bands that actually still play instruments.
Mm. We didn't. Yeah, we wanted to play. We wanted to have the actual sound of the instruments.
But that's
Y-
funny you said that we mixed all kind of things, and actually it was the thing with this band. It was like he came from blues music. I came from classical music. He's a
mm,
drummer. I'm a flutist. Like it's weird. And
Yeah.
we are French, but we are singing in English. And a lot of French people ask us why you should sing in French because you're not English or you're not Americans. And the thing is that is we just love to mix thing, because music is all about cultures
Yeah,
with
influences
the
and
S.
yeah.
It's plural. And for us it's really important to just we have a lot of inspirations, so we just
Yeah.
try everything, and there's no boundaries you know
That's why I think it's interesting because, like, if you think about it, I talk to a lot of international artists. I talk to bands from Finland, Iceland, Norway,
Hmm.
New Zealand, and even Japan and Korea. And the cool thing is, it's kind of like with the Beatles. When the Beatles came out, they influenced so many people that people all over the world chose like English. I think because the Beatles were like the
Yeah.
ultimate pop band, right? So everybody got influenced, and then everybody heard them, and they're in English. So
Right.
typically, pop music gets done in English because that's what happened. um,
Definitely.
but I love to listen to. I've been listening to bands like in Italian bands, just
Hmm.
singing Italian, or bands that are Icelandic and Norwegian, and this is really interesting when bands finally say, "Yeah, I can actually speak in my native language," and there's something cool because I listen to a lot of K-pop and a lot of J-pop
Okay.
in original Japanese and Korean, and it's fantastic. But and people are starting to warm up that, oh, maybe I can, like La Bamba, listen to it in its native,
Hmm.
original
Yeah,
language.
it's like watching a movie in original language.
Yeah. I mean, I watch K dramas with not when I actually listen to it. I don't put the English
Yeah.
subs on. I like to actually listen to Korean
Hmm. Yeah, it's
because
it's great. It's a great
I think
language.
you lose the subtext of what's going on sometimes when some songs are actually meant to be in its original language. So I think
Yeah.
when you probably sing your
Mhm.
French parts, there's a reason why you're doing that because it
Definitely.
works, right? And the English part is like maybe universal, and then
Hmm.
you have a part that's like, wait, it really doesn't translate well, so I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, because I understand that. That makes sense to me.
And we didn't actually. Yeah, we didn't translate this part, the
Oh,
French part. We didn't want to. It was like
No, it's
just
cool.
that's
And
how it should be, and that's it.
yeah,
It's
I might not know, but I dig the groove and I dig the sound. And I've been
cool.
like a big proponent. Like I listen to jazz and people are just chatting, right? They're not
Hmm.
really saying anything, but it's the feeling.
It's the
And I think
feeling. Yeah. Yeah.
anytime you're a music fan, you can pick up the feeling
Definitely.
from
Yeah.
anything. no matter
Yeah,
what language.
the thing is, what I sing in English is kind of badass, you know. Like this
Yeah,
girl is a badass, and the verse, the chorus, sorry, in French is kind of a fake little girl, like a
oh,
nice girl. But it's just the thing is, human beings are, not just one thing,
mhm,
and it was really interesting to say that a woman can be a really badass and in the same time she can be really naive and stuff. So,
it's a
and for
duality.
me, the French singing is more like sweet, more soft.
Hmm.
So I thought it was a cool idea to be this sweet girl in French and this badass in English, you know.
Yeah, that's a duality. Like, I
Yeah.
think what's
Mhm.
always interesting, I was talking to some of my guests this weekend, is that like a lot of bands, a lot of artists, they have a stage persona, right? It's like who you are when you go on stage is not
Yeah,
exactly who you are when you're doing your day to day 24/7, right?
for
There's something
sure.
about it when you're a musician that you create this kind of face, whether or
Hmm.
not you don't have to be like Kiss and put the makeup on. You don't have to be like Bowie and actually turn into Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah.
But I think every artist has that, whether you can see it or not. It's like present,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and that duality of being the badass. I think that's kind of like synonymous with like, okay, if you're going to go on stage, you kind of have to be a little bit of a badass to carry it off.
Right, right. No, no, I totally agree. Totally agree. I think it's important. It's important to have the two different person, kind of, to
Yeah.
be a different person on stage, and that's what people expect. People don't expect to you on stage to be like just a regular, just walking on
Yeah,
the street, and
yeah. Who wants
they
to
want
do
Or
that?
you
something.
can, you can be a regular person, but just a special regular person.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there's something about it that, like, people go into great lengths to create, like, personas,
Hmm.
to kind of be what you want to do. I mean, my whole thing is I created this female version of myself called Josephine Electric by using like vocoders. And then
Okay.
in real time when I play, I actually have a phantom mask and I look like a ghost. And my stick is that I can do male and female voices because I look like a ghost, right? And you
Oh
don't
yeah, yeah,
know
yeah.
if a ghost is female or male when you first see a ghost. He's like, I don't know. And so
Cool.
my whole idea with Phantom Electric Ghost is like sometimes the songs are from a female voice and sometimes they're from a male voice. And because
Mm,
I can do that with all my electronic gear, I can create characters. And that's been
cool.
kind of my whole. And when I started to do it, I actually went from like hardly anybody listening to me to like suddenly I got a podcast and do all this stuff. It was because I chose to like, okay, I'm going to present myself that way, and that's my stagecraft. But like everybody has to have that kind of duality. Well, I think of it like the other me. Like you look in the mirror in the
Yeah.
looking glass, and you say, "Well, that's the other me. That's the stage me."
Right, 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 right. That's exactly what it is. That's for sure. For
So,
sure.
have you been able to, because of the lockdowns and everything going on with Corona? You're really a great live act. Have you been able to play live?
Yeah.
We started playing again in last June,
Yeah.
actually. But during lockdown, we did a lot of things. We did some live stream.
Hmm.
Actually we were lucky. We didn't really stop.
You
So
kept on
we
going.
did. It was a good. It was. I mean, we took this experience to
Like an
yeah,
experience.
like an experience,
Did
and
you
do
spend a lot
something
of
else,
time?
and
Yeah,
yeah, and adjust.
did you spend time like writing like more material for an album? Because I talked to a
Yeah.
lot of bands, and during the lockdown, I said, okay, well, I'm just going to write that album. I never had time because I was always touring, and
Yeah.
I'm going to do the
And
project I never got to
more
Mhm.
do.
thinking about what we are doing, not
Mhm.
just doing things, but thinking about that.
Yeah,
So,
sitting around the table and just be like, okay, what's going on now with this project? Where are we going, and
Mhm.
and
how are we gonna?
what is the big pictures too,
Yeah,
because sometimes you're just so focused on what you have to do now or
Yeah,
next week, but you don't think about what is your big picture, and we just decided to just
sit.
settle
Yeah,
settle
yeah.
this thing.
And it was a good thing. It was a good
Yeah.
thing. Actually, we adjusted a lot of things and started thinking differently. So it was very interesting, and I think it helped. He helped us a lot, and we were able to start. That's actually how we started having musicians with us.
Mhm.
Yeah, that seems like so. Well, I've talked to a lot of bands, and during the lockdown, they've been able to kind of redefine their sound.
Hmm.
I've talked to bands where like, okay, guitar player went and learned sax,
Yeah.
or drummer went and learned to play bass, or
Hmm.
or the guitar player went and learned how to do keyboard so he want to do production, and people
Right.
started diving into their DAW and diving into hardware and trying to learn how to be a recording engineer, and it just spending more time on the art because, like you said, when you're a working musician, you're going from gig to gig, and then you're fitting in the tracks for your next project
Yeah.
kind of here and there, but you're not able to like do what the old school artists used to be able to go into a studio for 6 months and to stay in the studio,
Yeah, that's
right?
exactly what I
Yeah, that's
say.
exactly
I
what.
said,
Yeah.
we just experience to be like a 60s or 70s band, like
Yeah.
just locked down in a tiny little studio, just writing music and trying things. So
Mm.
yeah,
And that's
that's funny.
fantastic if you think about it, because that old school way where you had some breathing space,
Yeah.
where you'd have to be on a tour. They work you to death, they make you tour like incessantly, and then
Right.
they would say, "Hey, go do the album," and they send you for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months
Hmm.
to actually do it. And then in that whole process, working with the producers and stuff, that's where you kind of molded like a lot of the albums I love is the fact that in the 70s and the 60s, things were done in terms of an album. Like
Yeah.
everything today is like Spotify playlist.
Right.
But I was gonna always ask people, like, which way do you like to go? Do you like to do like EP and album focused projects, or do you do single focused projects because of the way the market is?
Hmm. Yeah, and the thing is, we have to adjust. Unfortunately, I mean, I would love to, sit in a room for 6 months and write an album and record it, but the problem is now it's impossible as a new artist, and
Yeah, yeah.
having a band like this for only a few years is not doable. I wish we gonna do that
I'm
later.
not. I'm not even sure when you're really big you can do that. Like, okay, Beyonce can, but that's almost the only
Yeah,
one.
maybe.
Like you see all these big artists, they just touring, writing an album in 2 months, and touring
Yeah,
and
yeah.
writing while they are touring. So I think it's just the world
The
is
way it
now
is now.
like that. It's so fast. You have
Mm.
to move really quickly. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
different way.
it's a different way. I mean, just because like I think we get do it yourself artists, like in the indie world, that we're kind of you have other like I have a day job, but
Hmm.
like I kind of grew up in the 70s, so everything I do is like a concept album, and I just put out tons of material. I put out albums like people put out singles.
Yeah, yeah.
Like 7 albums last year because I'm crazy. But
Oh, really?
yeah, I just write all the time, but that's just me. But I'm not trying to be a hit. I'm just doing what I want, right? So
Hmm.
I just kind of throw it at the wall, and I got these ideas, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to contain them. Can I just do it? Because I never know what's going to work. So, and
Right.
I've talked to a lot of people, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to put out like a song every 2 weeks or every month or every month and a half. They're putting out a lot of content. It kind of reminds
Hmm.
me of like the 50s. Like if you think about like Motown Machine,
Yeah.
they would just take the same song and send it to four bands.
Right.
Then Van Vandellas would do it, then the Supremes would do it, then the Four Tops would do it, Marvin Gaye would do it. Okay, it didn't
Mhm.
work. Let's do another one, and they keep on sending, they pushing stuff out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it
it's
was kind of
crazy.
like a playlist type of thing because they just kept on throwing songs out and giving them to different people.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
So are you guys what are you guys working on right now? Are you working on just like your strategy for 2022? What is that
Well,
strategy?
oh, okay.
Actually, for now, I could say that we are just enjoying the fact to be on stage, because it
Okay, so
was
you're
a
doing that
long
full
Yeah.
time without being on stage. So we are just enjoying that. And at the same time, we try to think to the future. But as I already is really hard now because, we just experienced these 3 lockdowns. Like, and we didn't expect that. The first lockdown was a surprise. The
Mhm.
second was like, shit again. The third was like, oh man. And we don't really know with this new variant, like Omicron is like, hey,
Is
don't
it gonna happen
forget I'm
again?
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we really want to think to the future, but in the same time I'm like, maybe we should be a bit more like
Right
in
now, yeah,
right now,
yeah,
enjoying what is, and that's hard, to I don't know. I'm just in this weird place right now.
You're in that moment. Yeah, I get it.
yeah.
Because, like, one of the things I've been trying to do is, in the last year, we did this thing where we've had like, over 100 guests on the podcast. So we said, everybody was in lockdown. So I said, why don't we create an online festival? So we
Hmm.
did an online festival in July for 3 days,
Cool.
where we had like podcast guests was the requirement. You've been on the podcast, you did an interview, and every band did like, a 20-30 minute set from their bedroom. We called it the Bedroom Producer Festival. And they either did it from their bedroom or a soundstage or wherever. But
Uh-huh.
it was kind of like lo-fi, and everybody did a 20-30 minute set. It went so well, we're doing it again in February. In
Cool.
February 11th through the 13th, we're inviting anybody who's been on the program, if they want to be able to do like a live show, whether it's unplugged or however they want to do it, through this platform, because
Mm.
we were able to, do it. And so it was successful, and we seemed to get a lot of people that were not able to play, and they
Right.
wanted to be able to play, and we gave them a stage,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
virtual
because it was
stage.
not easy. It was not easy to stay home for many musicians and not play.
Yeah.
But we were lucky to
Yeah.
be back on stage from June until actually we just came back from
Yeah,
a
and
few
we
shows
have
we played.
just our last show next week in Belgium,
Oh,
hopefully.
cool.
Yeah.
So you're actually really touring. You're not just inside France. You actually went to other.
No,
Yeah.
actually, we used to travel quite
Way
a
more,
lot.
yeah.
Yeah, and the plan was to move in the US, just to do half in France, half in the US, but COVID.
Yeah.
So this didn't happen, and we are just waiting for going back
Going
to
back,
the
yeah.
US. But
So
yeah,
when you come to the U.S., where would you be? Like West Coast, East Coast? Where would you be
We've
based at?
been
the plan,
many times West Coast.
yeah, we did. Actually, the first time we played with ROSAWAY was in New York,
Oh, New York.
and when we signed with our label, Rope-a-Dope Records, they said you should definitely go to LA to
Yeah,
try.
LA is the big thing.
Yeah.
So we did LA once. We played 2 shows or 3 shows, and we said, okay, let's try to put together a run.
Later
So
on, yeah.
we did a 1 month run during summer. It was 2019, just
Wow, did
before
you hit
the
like
end of the world.
the Viper Room and the Whiskey a Go Go, places like that?
We play at Hotel Cafe
Okay.
in LA,
We went up
and
there also to
we play in Petaluma, and in Santa Monica and stuff.
many shows in LA. I mean,
In the area,
yeah, in
like in San Diego too, and stuff.
San Diego also. That was
And
cool.
we were supposed to go back to the US this summer, but
Everything. Yeah.
the US were shut down. So
Yeah,
Actually,
that would be fantastic, because I'm close to New York, so like I'm
Yeah.
in New England, so it'd be, if you're in, like, LA is hard for me to get to, but New York is doable. Actually, that's where to go. We play in New York clubs sometimes. Well, when we
Mhm.
could, we play in Boston and New York.
Oh yeah, but the
that
plan
was
is
that was the plan in
yeah,
August, actually.
we were supposed to come to New York.
To New York, then
The-
LA,
yeah.
fly to
The record label organized a few cool stuff, but unfortunately we had
yeah.
to.
But you think 2022 you might be able to actually do that?
I really hope so. I
Hopefully,
really hope so.
like-
Yeah. Because like 2 days before the first lockdown, we were in touch with our lawyer to get like a long-term visa,
Oh, to be able to
and
do
then
that.
of course we had to
Yeah, they
stop
gotta
the whole thing.
Push down.
Yeah, so now it's gonna take more, again, more time, but we'll make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the type of music you're doing, because you have, you're a live drummer and you're a flautist, and then now you have a keyboardist. That's totally my zone. I love, like, I'm a solo act, and I'll go out with all my Moogs and stuff
Mhm.
and actually play with like hardware synths. But a lot of times I've actually linked up with guitar players and drummers and done like a full band.
Yeah.
And it's that is my love, is like, it's like jam band stuff. Like, I grew up
Right.
with the Allmans, Earth, Wind, Fire, and
Cool.
Funkadelic, and that's what I like to see. Now I know the world has changed, and you've got people in the box, and somebody shows
Mhm.
up on it with an MPC or their laptop.
Yeah.
And they have, like, that's fine, because there's different genres of music where that works, like EDM and hip hop. You can do
I
that.
agree.
But not that that's bad. But what I've even seen is hip hop bands are actually bringing full bands with them.
I know.
EDM bands are bringing, cello player
Yeah,
out, because like yeah, you can mix it,
of
and
course, of
so
course.
I'm
We are
hoping like
actually huge fans of Anderson Paak, and he
yeah,
has a old band like crazy dudes,
Yeah, he's
and
got a full band.
yeah, they are
it's
freaking
full
good.
band.
So yeah,
I think that's the future. Yeah, Kendrick Lamar was doing that.
Yeah.
Like the Odd Future Collective, they would go on stage with this big band, like multiple bands, like the internet would be backing them up,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think that is like the future of music is a combination. Like people say, "Oh, I'm only analog." Well, I'm a keyboard player. Some of my stuff's digital, some of my stuff's
Yeah.
analog. Like so, I kind of like you take the tool that you need for the job.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like I think when you're doing a song, like one song you could you could be in the box, you could be on an MPC, and the other songs like everything's
Yeah,
analog.
and just yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally agree, and
It's
that's
kind
what
of
we
a.
like. That's what we like.
Do you
But
feel like
actually,
like
yeah,
when you write, do you have like a overall way to write? Like I like to ask people, like how do you actually start like a writing session?
we never
You know,
have a. It's always different,
yeah, it's always different.
which I
Especially
like.
especially now, because when we were locked down, it was completely different than before. So we have we had to adjust our way to work,
Hmm.
and we were kind of how can I say that? It was a weird vibe, obviously,
mm,
and it was funny because we didn't had the same impression of the situation. Like Steph was like, "I have no inspiration when I'm locked down. I can't be
Inspired, yeah.
inspired," and I
oh
was like, "It's kind of cool in a way."
yeah. I've actually been able
So
to I've had people say the opposite that like suddenly I have all of this content, and then I've had
Yeah.
other people like I can understand. I was talking to a rock band, right, and they had a drummer,
Hmm.
and the drummer couldn't get to the band, right? So he was
Right.
getting very like uninspired because it's like, oh wait, I can't record like on the net with my band because it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Because you can try to record it like in a Skype session and it's like out of sync.
No,
So
yeah, it's impossible.
so he can't do it. So he's like, but if like somebody's like on their DAW, they can keep
Hmm.
on sending files, and the vocalist could do something and send it back. But like, there's a lot of kind of go back and forth type of
Yeah.
stuff happening.
Yeah.
But like, if you're a band where you typically were in the studio with the whole band, and
Yeah.
that's how you write,
Yeah.
they were having a hard time. Like a lot of the bands I talked to that did it that way, were like I can't write because that's the way I write.
No, but actually for us it was a good thing we live together. So actually it was
yeah, it
easier
was
than,
easier than
doing like a
a lot of
back and
bands.
forth and
Yeah.
Yeah, that
but
works
yeah, yeah,
compared to
yeah.
other people. Like if they're in like four different apartments or four different houses,
It's
and then
hard.
you
It's
can't get
hard.
together, then the band was
Yeah,
like dead. You can't do
I think
anything.
so. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah. But that way we were able to, do a lot of videos. We did a lot of covers,
Collaborations.
collaboration and covers also. We rearranged a lot of stuff, and because we were living together. But
Yeah.
I can understand for some bands it was not easy.
Did you actually like do like features with other artists?
We did. We did
We did
actually,
actually for our EP
for the
too.
EP, and for the EP, yeah, we have like four different drummers, and
Wow,
three
that's
from New Orleans. We have Joey Piblis from Tromonchori.
wow.
He's a really good old friend, and Duke Belote also, who plays with everybody in New Orleans. I
Peter.
mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, it was fun. But also we did some collaboration for small videos also, and it was great. We had a good time recording
Yeah.
that.
Yay to
So
look down.
No,
one of the things I always ask is like when you record, do you guys have like your own home recording studio? Do you have to go to a like a producer and do it in a formal like old school like music studio?
we have our house studio, but it's
It's more for demos,
yeah, yeah. We don't do any
real
real,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
Then we
final
go.
master happens at the like at
We
the
always, yeah, we work with a producer, a great guy with a great studio, and we always go there to record. But here we do some synths sometimes, and but more like putting ideas in the computer and some vocals and redoing stuff. But then we like to be in a real studio to
now how like I always ask people like sometimes when you work with a producer, some singer songwriters are like their demo is like 90% of what the song is, right?
Yeah.
And then other
Mm.
producers are like other singer songwriters, like I depend on my producer to kind of take my raw material and actually really mold it. So are you kind of, are you saying like a
Well, I
difference
think
for every song?
our demo are like 85%
Yeah.
of the results, because we are kind of control freaks.
Yep.
So we are overthinking to everything, and we have a really like an idea, it's
Yeah.
really specific,
Mm.
we really know, and then
You know
we
what
have
you want.
our producers just know us and say, yeah, that's cool, but it's not gonna work, or this could be better, but is really respectful of
Very.
our idea. It's just trying to just
Make it better.
yeah, make it better, but it's
But
just
yeah,
yeah.
but I
But
think
he knows us. He knows
when
us
you have
very
a
well.
when you have a producer that enhances your sound, like there's a couple of things in the industry. What I noticed is like there are producers that will take your demo and like radically 360 change it, right?
Mm.
And then there's producers that will actually like embellish what you did, right?
Yeah.
So you have something and they make it sound phenomenal because
Exactly.
the way they work
Exactly.
with the recording engineer, the way they take the sound, they'll take the original demo and just enhance it
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and make it the best it could ever be, but didn't like totally radically change the song, like cut it up and change it all around.
No, I could not. I could not have that. And
Yeah.
the person we work with is just like that. And even sometimes we are trying to do something, and he changes a little thing, and we were like, okay, this is where we wanted to go. But and he knows us so well, and he's really good. So
But
he
maybe
is
when we'll be bigger, like when we will touring a lot, and we'll just have like 1 month to write an entire album, maybe we'll need this kind of producer,
to
so
say
I
just
think it
Change it
just
changes it all
depends,
around.
yeah. It could
Yeah,
be a good experience and good thing to have a
and
someone
and
outside.
maybe it could be useful if we wanted to change a bit our style,
yeah. If you
like
want to
if
change your
if,
style.
if we wanted to sound like more hip hop or
Hmm.
more rock and roll,
Yeah.
maybe it could be easier and better to have this kind of producer, but for now we have our own idea of our sound, of our
Yeah,
just
But
style.
but like you said, if you ask a producer, it's a different state of mind. If you ask a
Mm,
producer who has a specific style, and you're like, okay, man, just bring me there, and then it's different.
yeah,
mhm.
If
yeah.
you ask
Because there's
him,
some producers like Prince was like known that if you work with Prince, you're gonna sound like Prince.
yeah,
Like even if you sounded different, if you work with
at
Prince,
the
you're
beginning,
gonna
yeah,
sound exactly like Prince. You're
I
gonna sound
agree,
in that zone, right?
But
I
And if
agree.
you work,
that's actually a real question, because when you are doing indie music, like, but you want to be bigger, like, just being your own, just touring with your own band and have no day job and stuff like that, like just being bigger.
Mhm.
That's a real question to say, should I let my band to a producer, like to
Yeah,
maybe be bigger? So that's definitely a real question to ask to yourself. And if you have the opportunity, is like we didn't have this opportunity, so we don't have this kind of problems, but
yeah, yeah.
it could be like something to think,
Yeah,
like
the
like
one of the one of my
like
things that
Lady Gaga,
Mhm.
she
yeah,
was not Lady Gaga before.
yeah, she
So
was herself, and then she kind of did this Bowie-esque thing, and then
Yeah,
she got like
and I'm
producers.
not sure it's her idea. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I don't know.
I don't know if that idea to be like a Bowie kind of change, like
Hmm.
if that was her idea or her marketing people's idea. But one of the things that's interesting is like if you get like a producer like Brian Eno,
Yeah,
and like he would like U2 sounds like U2, right? And then when Brian Eno works with them, they don't sound like the normal U2. They
right.
change to his style, and his style is very experimental, and
Hmm.
it's like this wash and all these weird layers, and it's really strange. And anytime he comes in, I mean, he actually did an album with Dylan, and
Oh
Dylan
yeah.
doesn't sound like anybody, but then Brian Eno came in and did this album, and it's like, wow, that doesn't even sound like Dylan. It has totally changed how, because Dylan said, okay, like I want to sound different. So
Yeah.
he let Eno come in and do it. And it was like radically different. And just like the Bowie records with Eno from Berlin,
Yeah.
they were so radical. They were like they actually kind of mapped out what new wave was going to sound like in like 76 and 75, you know,
Hmm.
doing all this work in Germany that is like nobody fully understood it, but it inspired tons of new wave bands like Joy Division, New Order,
Right.
Depeche Mode. They all looked at what Brian Eno did there and like, wow, you know, so a
Yeah.
producer sometimes can be really helpful to kind of force you to think in a different way.
I would like, actually, I would like that once,
Yeah.
or to have someone I trust, of course,
Mhm.
and to bring Rosaway in a different direction. It would be
Or
pretty
in a
amazing.
more specific
Yeah,
direction,
yeah,
I
yeah.
would say,
Yeah, yeah. If
because
you wanted to
yeah,
get the
I think
EDM,
we are too old to be like babies. Like you'll
Right.
do that or you'll do that. We are not 20 anymore,
yeah, you
so I
guys
think
know what you want. Like
yeah.
if when
Yeah.
you have yeah, when you have a very specific sound, like I think it's hard to like say, well, I want to go and sound like trip hop, or I
Mm,
want
Mm,
to go and be
I agree.
psych.
It's impossible.
Yeah, I want to go and
We
sound.
already have our sound.
Yeah, then you're suddenly going to get into the structure of the drop, and it's
Hmm.
going to be very tight, and it's going to have these set of sounds and these set of pads and these type of
Yeah.
the structure. And then like, okay, well, that to me, even for me as an electronic musician, people assume that I'm trance or techno, and I'm more like progressive. I'm more like
Hmm.
funkadelic and Genesis and Yes and Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
That's the way I go. And they were like, "Oh, I thought all electronic music is EDM." It's like, no,
Nope.
it's not all EDM. I kind of go back to the beginning.
Right. 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 Right.
but we have
And
the same because when we said is a drummer, I'm a flutist, people are pretty sure that we are doing experimental music,
Or
and I'm just
experimental jazz.
yeah,
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
pop. Don't worry, it's
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
be okay.
You got this really nice pop that's not like, oh, it's not Sun Ra, it's not like Miles Davis, it's not Coltrane, it's not going that way. You know,
Hmm.
I can hear jazz influences, but
Yeah.
you're not a jazz band. You're doing what you call what is like pop groove, which has
Mhm.
got like the funk. It's got that funk groove that
Yeah.
I really I dig that all the time because I'm into basses. But um,
Mm.
it's just interesting in this age where everybody's in the computer to
Hmm.
actually have a band that's like not in the computer.
Yeah. Right. Right. No,
you
no,
know,
that's for sure. We really wanted like this open sound, and yeah, we're trying to get that. You know.
Yeah.
do you
That's
get pressure to like, oh, you guys should do more in the box?
Yeah.
Yes, of course,
Definitely.
but
I think it's more because we are in France, and
mhm,
it's a little country. To be totally honest with you, it's not the U.S., so we have less culture than you have in the U.S. So we are really like into being super respectful of all the cultures, but in the same times, in France, we are really like strict and really like I don't know, French is French, like France
Mhm.
is a France. So you have to fit in the French style, which is less is more, So when we come with our pop and with our band, which is kind of a lot of things, and it's like not less, it's more. You know what I mean?
More
So
minimalistic.
there's a lot of things, and I like to be like a badass on stage, which is not really French.
Yeah, you said that.
So it's not the French style. So people say, yeah, that's cool, but you're not French enough.
it might be too much sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have this kind of,
So do you find your core audience actually has to be outside of France because the limitations of what they expect?
no, actually,
Mm,
the audience is okay with what we are doing.
Mm,
They are pretty much into it, actually, to be totally
cool.
honest. But more about the promoters. Like they
Or
said,
the
yeah.
promoters.
yeah, but I can't really say is that you are doing pop because here, pop music is not exactly the same than in the US. Actually, we don't have these kind of people like Lady Gaga or Justin Bieber. We don't have this kind of pop here.
Yeah.
So it's more about being like sweet and like really soft and
Oh, kind of
it
remind me like the Karen, like, if I would give an example, like pop, like the Carpenters is kind of like the accepted kind of old school pop, or a guy like
Hmm.
Todd Rundgren, like Hello, It's Me. There's a certain type of like it's still on the radio today in the US, like the
Yeah.
the, the kind of like romantic pop of the 70s.
yeah.
That's like what some people like, Like if you go to some
Hmm.
towns, some cities in the
Hmm.
Midwest, they don't want to hear like a Lady Gaga. They
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
hear like a Karen Carpenter or a Billy Joel or a Neil
Hmm.
Diamond, right? So if you come in like a Lady Gaga, or you come in like with a Bowie thing, or if you come in like the Clash,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
come in like like Joy Division or New Order, they'll be like, what?
Hmm.
Like our audience doesn't want that. We
No.
want you
No.
to go sound like Billy Joel, do that. Like not that it's bad, but it's like they don't want adventurism. They don't want you to try come out like Blondie or something. Like like
Totally. Totally.
yeah,
But
like
that's
Yeah. Here in France we don't have Miley Cyrus. It couldn't like even
you couldn't even do
been imagined here. These kind of women couldn't be big here. So that's our problem. So it's just another way to think about women and to think about music, and it's all about culture. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
because
yeah.
even like a Tori Amos or like if you think of like a Liz Fair, like in America we have these all like women like kind of post punk
Yeah.
artists,
hmm
and they're in there's like there's a lot of cool bands that have kind of this punk attitude, but they're like female centered, and
Yeah.
in parts of the world they're not accepted because they're like, oh, that's too much, that's too aggressive.
Hmm.
Like we don't want to see like a woman behaving like the Clash or behaving like Johnny Rotten,
Or
you
being
Yeah.
know.
like a man.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's
they
be.
don't want to they don't want to see that, and it's like, well, I think that's cool. I mean, I really dig a lot of alternative or like cutting edge grunge,
Hmm.
industrial bands that are pushing it. They're like
Yeah.
really pushing the envelope in terms of content and whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's exciting
Of
because
course.
I
Of course.
don't want to just listen to Led Zeppelin, Tom Petty all day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's a problem in America. Is like we have a tendency where they want to keep on just playing Led Zeppelin. Not
Yeah.
that it's bad, but that's all they want to play. Some stations, that's all they want to do. And if you try to do anything different, they're like, no, no, no. I want to hear Leonard Skinner and the Rolling
And the
Stones,
same. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the same thing over and over and over for the last 20 years. And,
Mm. No, but
you
that's the thing. And that's the thing with Rosaway. We don't want to put any limit.
Hmm.
We have different. We come from two different worlds. Which is I was touring with a blues rock artist for
yeah,
years, and she comes from like a classical trained education style. And we were like, okay, just do what we have to do, and mix everything. We like
you got a
so
hybrid.
many,
Yeah, you got this hybrid approach that's like
Hmm.
it's a mixture. It's like the idea why I created. Like people try to pin me down and like, what do you are? And I said, what because they kept trying to put me in the EDM, and I said it's expansive sound. And he said, what does that mean?
Mhm.
That means because I can do everything. If
Yeah.
one day I want to do bebop, I'll do bebop. If one day I want to do Johnny Cash, I'll do
Mhm.
Johnny Cash. If one day I want to get into like techno or new wave or really play punk like
Right.
the Clash, I will actually come out with a band and sound like the Clash.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
that's what I like punk, so I will actually go and make my own version of punk. And
Hmm.
Hmm.
and people are like, "Well, I thought you did this." It's like, well, it's whatever I feel like doing.
No, totally agree.
It doesn't. It's like if you expect me to like, you might get upset if I come to New York and I'm in my punk mindset. And you're waiting for me to play a new wave song. I might not touch any of my new wave songs. I might just do nothing but a punk set, and you'll be like, "I'm disappointed."
Yeah,
But that's like, okay, if you're indie, you can do what you want.
I think so. I think so, and we don't mind. We'll like what we do. You know, we're
So
not
you
gonna
feel
stop.
good. You feel
We
good
just
about the.
try our best. That's
You
the
feel
only
good.
thing.
So you feel good about the future, about you're going to be doing. Like you feel like you're going to be really touring heavy into next year still.
I think the first part of the year will be kind of hard here because
Mm,
with things are closing
Oh
right
yeah,
now,
yeah.
so we don't know
You have
what
no
to
idea.
expect.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of show where cancel last year, so they are booked
they're rebooked.
again
Yeah.
now. So I think the first 6 months will be like kind of hard because it's like crowded, if I can say that.
oh
Hmm.
So
yeah, it's too
but I
crowded.
think
Yeah,
Yeah.
if everything could be okay, like with all this COVID and vaccination and etc. I think
I think
I
we're
think
gonna be good.
September will be better.
Yeah.
better. Yeah, Well, the problem we have in the U.S. is we've got like it's making it hard for us to get back to normal because we have like a lot of hesitancy
Yeah.
on the vaccination, which is making certain parts of the country like hard to tour.
We
Right.
have the same here.
Yeah, like
Yeah, yeah.
it's hard for like a band to go to the South or the Midwest, but like
I know.
you could do like LA and New York City. But if you tried to do like Ohio
Then in middle, yeah.
in the
Or
middle of
Texas.
America, yeah,
Yeah.
you can't really do it because it's like it's dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So like okay, well, like the way we usually made money is like you tour the whole place, the whole
Yeah, you
US.
cannot do just one spot. Then
Yeah,
you lose money.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you just stay in New York, you're going to oversaturate New York because everybody's trying to do New York.
Sure.
Everybody's trying to do LA. And then, and everybody's trying to do San Francisco. And so there's too many bands trying to hit like all those clubs. And like you said, dude, people are getting like overbooked.
Yeah.
Because they're booking out until like 2023.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're like, okay, well, how am I going to get in there? And I said, well, I'll do this podcast and I'll do these online concerts. So we're actually, working toward doing ticketed online concerts, like to charge like $1.
Okay. That is
It's one
cool.
of our ideas. We're doing a beta because, like, if you think about it, well, if I charge a very low ticket price for an online event and then make it worth it, if you get 1,000 people come in,
Yeah.
at $1, it starts to work. If you
Yeah.
get 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, then suddenly it's like, okay,
So
this model potentially can work because you don't go do these Ticketmaster prices are like
Mhm,
hundreds
mhm.
of dollars.
Yeah.
These are all indie bands, so we'll say 50 cents or $1,
Right.
and get their core fans to like say, oh yeah, I'll do that. So you make it something that's like doable. And so
Yeah.
where people got to start thinking out the box. Is okay, if I can't do that, then maybe I could do this.
Mhm.
So that's what we're working toward doing, like one-shot concerts with bands that have been on the show and actually promote like a ticketed Facebook event, and
Yeah.
then have like a unique show for like, okay, we're going to showcase this band, and then they're going to play like 50 minutes, and all their fans can come in and they can sell their merch and they can do
Right.
their t-shirts or whatever. Yeah, because like people need a way to get out there, and I've been trying to figure out ways to help bands, just because I think, I'm a musician myself and I want to go on the road, but like if you can't,
Yeah.
I want to figure something else out.
We need to find solutions. Yeah. No, I agree. But I mean, it was a good end of the year. I'm
Yeah.
really happy. We did a
We
lot
were
of
lucky.
shows.
We were lucky actually because we play like something like 25 shows since
awesome.
June, which is not that bad for a COVID year.
very
So
good.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
a lot
And
of
we did.
bands are like at zero. A lot of bands I know is like they haven't been able to do that at all.
No.
So
That's why I'm saying we did actually some music show residencies also in really big, nice venues. Worked with like sound engineers, like sound
that's awesome.
light guys, and so we really put the show together. So yeah,
we are
we
ready
can
actually.
we can complain. Really, we can't complain. We
Yeah.
No,
we did a
that's
lot.
that's fantastic, because like when you see the video that we showed,
Mhm.
like you really want to see ROSAWAY live. You get
Thank
the
you.
feeling that you guys got a lot of energy, that
Cool.
you're like the real deal. You guys like are playing.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you.
I can't say enough about, like, I love live music. I'm a
Mhm.
fan before anything else. I used to go see I went to see the Who. I would go see Genesis. I would go see
Yeah.
Earth, Wind and Fire. I sit there and watch the Grateful Dead all night when they were still touring,
Yeah.
because I just like to see a band play. Like I
Mhm.
would go see the Allman Brothers just to see the fantastic
Yeah.
interaction between the guitar players.
Of course.
It was
Of course.
just like unbelievable, and it's like there's something about live music that sometimes today, which I hate to go on a soapbox, but if you show up with your box and you just present what I heard on record,
Mhm.
why would I want to go to see that?
Yeah. But when we started the duo, I mean, that was the purpose. That was just being on stage.
Yeah.
That's what we wanted. Just of course we recorded songs, but yeah, we
Yeah.
wanted to
No,
be on
it's
stage.
just in our DNA. We are just musicians, actually.
Yeah, you
So
want to. Yeah,
yeah,
there's
we're not
something about.
producers. We are
Yeah,
musicians. So yeah, we just have to be producers and we have to be promoters. But our DNA is definitely musicians. So yeah.
Being on
yeah.
stage.
I've seen like your Instagram post of you doing like your live like
Mhm.
performances, and it's just fantastic to see that kind of like dynamic playing.
Thank you.
Is something I'm really, a big proponent of. I've always suggested to anybody that plays, like, integrate like
Uh-huh.
live aspects into your music.
Yeah.
Use that MIDI keyboard, like use
Yeah.
a controller, and don't just kick off a clip. Like, actually play something.
Yeah. For sure. For
You know,
sure. We
'cause
we love that. We love that. So, but well, welcome to close to New York.
Yeah,
And
soon.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Definitely in 2022
oh
for
yeah,
sure.
we have to.
Yeah, we're
Well,
hoping to start, to be able to go into New York and actually play ourselves again, because that's something we played is, like, 300, 400 seat clubs. We're not super
mm,
big, but it's just to be in a club with 300 or 400 people that are into the type of music you're into. There's
yeah.
something cool about that kind of small crowd.
Yeah. It's great.
I think, I understand the big crowds is like how people make the money, but, like, if you get to this, like, intimate crowd situation where you have,
Totally.
yeah, that's just fun. I
That's the
think,
best. The best feeling is there
yeah,
in
it's
those
just,
venues.
yeah,
That's
it's super fun.
yeah. I totally agree. Totally
Well,
agree.
thank you for being on the program. It's, like, very,
Thank you.
very
Thank
awesome.
you.
I've been a fan of your music, and I've been, like, wanting you guys to be on the show for a while, and then finally got you to come on.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thanks for inviting us. It was great. It was great.
See you in the States, so.
Yeah, I hope to see you. Like, I hope we get all this sorted, and everybody, all
Yeah,
the musicians will all be on stages talking to each other again.
definitely. We're
Definitely.
gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen soon
Okay,
for
thank
sure.
you very much. And this will be out, like, it's already there. I'll send you the live links. The
Great.
permanent links are coming right after we get off of the air, and you'll get
Awesome.
the Spotify as soon as this. Everybody to know, we are on Spotify podcast. So watch this again on Spotify podcast, and then favorite it and playlist it through the Spotify network, because you can playlist a podcast. And so we suggest the fans throw this onto a playlist because it helps push it. And so that's just an idea. But please favorite it, subscribe it, download it, do whatever you want to. Remember to go to rosaway.com, check out all their content, subscribe, favorite, download, playlist. Thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
being on the program.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.